What's a thing you strongly dislike about Reddit? Often objectively incorrect information gets upvoted. And even if it is corrected, the correction doesn't get a quarter of the attention. People speak with authority, and if it sounds plausible, people buy into it. I've fallen into this trap myself. Edit. I feel the need to clarify. I'm not talking about matters of opinion or preference, or questions that are not answered definitively, or examples of multiple right answers, or technicalities, or politics, or anything controversial in any capacity. I'm talking about things that either are or aren't, and the facts are established without ambiguity or bias. One such mistake I routinely encounter, maybe not the best example but still, is people mixing up the definitions of right to work and at will employment, as these phrases pertain to labor in the US. Not even a question of how you feel about these concepts, or how they vary by state, or how they fit into political platforms, or how they compare to other countries, but strictly the definitions of the terms routinely get mixed up. I get it. They're vague terms, and intuitively the name of one does seem more apt for the definition of the other. Still, this mix-up happens in an authoritative top upvoted post, and now you've got a host of people who think they've learned something new, who actually learned the wrong thing. And the correction may be sufficiently buried or just comes too late to do any good. And the worst consequence, some of those people who learned the wrong thing will now go on to propagate that mistaken knowledge. Not deliberately, but because they simply learned it wrong, and put too much stock in the source of the info to fact check. I'm so quirky and original because Reddit people. After a while, I get tired of seeing all the sex-oriented AskReddit posts. That fucking glitch with the inbox where it doesn't show the correct number of unread comments. The increasing number of clickbait titles on mobile app. Unable to sort notifications by read, unread. If all the notifications have been read, it will still show that there are unread notifications. How they keep changing the ads to look more and more like real posts. Sob story headlines. And just downright lazy pics on that get upvoted like crazy. Post that shit on Facebook. I hate that so many Redditors are obsessed with Reddit itself and its mechanics. As in, a lot of comedy pages and memes are just about upvotes. Cake Day. Not having the karma to post in places. I don't find it clever or meta. It's just boring. Me when I has no karma but wants Cake Day dudes. Then throw in 1,000 people shamelessly reposting that meme across a bunch of different subs. It seems like everything gets watered down by people addicted to karma. *edit grammar. When a post that could elicit some interesting responses has nothing but puns, dick jokes, pop culture references, or references to pop culture references in past threads as the top comments. I can't think of the right word, but it's especially seen in subs like in. The people on there just think in a way that's completely unrealistic and not at all like the real world. Like, yeah, you can have your opinions and shit, but almost everything I see is absurd because that's just not how people in real life think and act. When I come late to a post and I see deleted everywhere, just fucking delete it completely then, and stop making me curious about what top comment said. How everyone thinks they're an expert and far more intelligent than the average Reddit user. Award ceremony speeches for getting gold or a ton of upvotes on a comment. It used to be fine, but I'm so tired of the kind stranger thing. Everyone seems to bear an equally weighted opinion. If you're qualified to write in something, but the armchair internet experts think you're wrong and or they don't like it, then you may as well not have added to the discussion at all. The echo chamber mentality and the mods who go on power trips. Also the Reddit admins' unwillingness to equally enforce their own rules. The fact that one person's ignorance carries equal weight to another's expertise. I can't stand two things. First is the fake humility. Here's a thing I made or did. Followed by, it's not much but drives me nuts. And came here to say that. How disorganized the comment chains still are. Where you can barely tell when a new comment starts. Reddit, for fuck's sakes, just make the border lines bold so we can tell. Otherwise, it looks like one really long list of comments. I'm a lawyer. I see a lot of very authoritative, highly upvoted posts here that are very incorrect. I also see a lot of misinformation being parroted in the comments. In the past, I've tried to correct it, but people will argue with me and tell me I'm the idiot. The fact that it's a massive echo chamber. not a Redditor. But Reddit tends to promote extreme opinions by people with no real experience. It's great for memes and interesting tidbits, but an awful place to get advice or perspective on anything important. That when you block someone they can still reply and see your activity. It makes no sense. Emo needs to be more like other social platforms where if you're blocked you can't see them at all. Everyone here with opinions about what's wrong with the concept of Reddit, so I'll chime in with what's wrong with actual Reddit. The search function is useless. What will get upvoted versus downvoted? I don't mean the typical Minecraft good, Fortnite bad stuff. I mean if I go to a community heart in hand asking for advice or help, I get downvoted to hell. But I make a stupid comment somewhere, and I get upvotes for days. I really don't like how there are a lot of one-uppers here. For example, in a thread about useless facts, I said Tolkien died in 1973. 1 ring to rule them. 9 for mortal men doomed to die. Someone commented, yay, but that's not the order that Tolkien wrote in. It's like people always have to point out some irrelevant nonsense. And I don't know if they do it because they want to genuinely educate people or they want to point out something to make themselves feel smart. I feel like it's the latter. The fucking repetitive comments. Always the same fucking comments. Also edited comments thanking someone for gold. Fuck you. There is so much I hate about the threads on Reddit. So much I hate about internet culture in general. The hive mentality. When I can exactly predict the always unfunny joke responses, he said worst, not best. Blah blah blah, they never made a Last Airbender movie. Always the same. Never funny. Obvious one. People who repost and claim to be original. People on here are very uncreative with their jokes and very repetitive. Try and say something funny instead of repeating did you break your arms or I also choose this guy's wife. Edit. Thanks for the gold, kind strangers. You don't need to edit your comment thanking them for giving you an award. That you can't have an opinion that's contrary to the majority. Not even on. Sometimes I write a thoughtful comment with a different perspective. And it starts an interesting conversation. Most of the time, comment is either ignored, downvoted with no explanation, or I get called every insult you can think of for not being in sync with the Reddit hive mind. Chain comments that continually circle jerk a certain reference until it actually makes me consider necrope. Sock puppet accounts. I've talked about this before, but spammers really annoy me. For those of you unfamiliar with these accounts, they are usually brand new or occasionally older accounts that are bought with little activity that repost comments and posts word for word to gain karma so that they can sell the accounts to spammers or use them themselves to spam. Here is a more detailed guide about them. We find and ban dozens of these accounts every day here on AskReddit, and I know the mods of other subs have just as hard of a time dealing with these as we do. There is a sub called dedicated to spotting these sock puppets accounts and calling them out. Then there are the t-shirt spammers that are just as bad. They will post on a sub like a regular user being like, look at this cool shirt I got, and then in the comments another one of their accounts will act like they are unrelated and say something like, if anyone wants to buy it, I found it here. This isn't always limited to t-shirts. There was a guy that did this with a potato and bragged about how money he made because of Reddit. We get these accounts on here a lot too. Typically with threads about gifts, and it's usually this candle company, this face blanket company, and many other novelty gifts. All of them probably owned by the same person. It really annoys me how these accounts use methods like this to trick people. Asterisk asterisk, this comment has been deleted by the moderators asterisk asterisk. Well, I feel kinda sad when in this subreddit the good questions I want to participate in have already like 30k comments and I never get to join or share things. People being mean for sport. We have the opportunity to reach out to strangers and we, as a community, use it to eat up goodness and shit out misplaced anger. The new design of the comments section for Android users. No, I don't want to see everyone's picture by their username. And no, I don't like having the voting buttons on the left side of the screen now. Redditor 1. Redditor 2. Overused and annoying. I just wish people on Reddit would be nicer to each other, lol. The amount of people that are just nasty and love to troll. I know all sound like an boomer. But I remember a time when Redditors weren't always that hostile to each other. The Reddit hive mind has accepted certain facts and situations to be 100% and unquestionably true. Many of these facts are exaggerations, based on questionable sources, or just downright wrong. This is a problem with the internet in general, but Reddit is a core offender in consolidating and amplifying fringe political beliefs. Before all of this, a person with a fringe, 1 in 100 political belief would be forced to confront the reality that almost nobody agreed with them. Whenever they expressed their political beliefs in the real world, there was only a 1% chance that the person they were speaking to would agree, and this would give them the best chance of reconsidering their position. With the internet, and especially places dedicated to custom political communities like Reddit, these people can now congregate together and trick themselves into believing that they hold normal, mainstream beliefs. They can also trick others into believing that their beliefs are more widespread than they really are. With a population of 320 million in the US, this means that even a 1% fringe belief can attract up to 3.2 million participants all focused together in one place. Add in the fact that social media allows us to curate our feed so that we no longer see opposition messaging, and suddenly you have a group of millions of people who hear only themselves. This tiny band of fringe lunatics begin to think that they are the people, and that their beliefs are not just mainstream, but possibly the majority opinion. This then has a tendency to snowball, as fringe communities that are effective at brigading other communities can create a false sense of size and scope, thereby attracting others to their cause. This issue is reflected on both sides of the political aisle. There are comparatively few KKK members in real life, and while Reddit in particular has done a fairly decent, though far from imperfect, job of expelling the far-right fringe, web presences like Stormfront have allowed them to network and grow. Thus the recent resurgence in places like Charlottesville. Similarly, there are comparatively few actual Marxists in real life. But if you judged their demographic weight based on Reddit representation, you'd think that they were a major faction of the Democratic Party. This amplification also causes demonization across the aisle, while most of the time we are sheltered by our little online echo chambers. Occasionally these fringe messages bleed through, and we start to think that the Republicans are mostly KKK members, or Democrats are mostly Marxists. I do not know what the solution is. I don't know if there is one. How hateful it can be to things. Instagram is only bad because they repost memes. And that's like 2% of the app. Emojis have a place, and I might get downvoted to hell for that.